This is Whispering Adirondacks Radio. This time on Whispering Adirondacks Radio, we sit down with longtime resident and dedicated community volunteer Don Morrison, who has lived in Jay, New York for over 45 years with his wife Connie. Together, they talk about their years in town, where they grew up, and how they started volunteering in the community and on the Jay Village Green. This interview is a multi-part series, which we will upload a new broadcast every 2 weeks in the spring of 2023. In part 2, Don and Connie talk about memories over the years at the Jay Village Green, local residents who helped them, and we start digging deep into the history of the Village Green and its components, like the historic 1800s bandstand, the fountain, lighting, trees, and hopes for the future of the park. Well, let's go on to one of the next questions here. Well, you've gone into some of this, but I'm going to ask the question, and you can give a short answer if you want to.
Sure.
Did you have volunteers to help fix things like the fountain and the bandstand, or did the town have a contractor come in? I think
no. The town did the town did the roof, or not the town. Actually, it was Jay Wood who actually did the roof, the cedar shingles on the roof. He did that himself.
Of the bandstand.
And then everything else, I pretty well did all the rest of it. I did the flooring and the siding and all of that on spare times, something to do.
Okay. So a lot of it was out of your pocket or volunteers donating items.
Pretty much so. I just sort of said, we're just going to get it done. I don't want to have to go through a big long time in which we had to go to have board meetings and do this. We just went ahead and did it. Everything that we did down there that's been done there, we just went ahead and did it.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Over the years, a lot of features have been added to the park, like the flagpole, and you just told the story about the flagpole. And its garden around the flagpole, the stone benches, the light posts, tree placement. You talked about tree placement. What roles did you have in these additions?
I did everything but the benches. I did not have anything to do. Dottie Madden was the one who took care of the bench situation, and she got those. Whether she got the town to pay for those or just how it happened, I never really knew.
Okay.
But she's the person who actually got the bench thing going.
Okay. Now you built the light posts that are on the park right now, correct?
Oh yes, he did.
Oh yeah, I did that long time ago. And what was unusual about those is that I got those from Ward Lumber. I think they donated those posts to us. Then they cut them and put the angles on there. They're now. Then I brought them home, and I decided that I would not split them and put a wire up through them. That I would
drill it.
I would actually drill them.
Oh.
And so I got a piece of re-rod and a drill bit, and went back to Ward's again, and they welded the bit on there for me. I brought it home and set it up in my backyard on the ground. So I just had, I think I had one of Connie's dad's drilled, and set it down and began drilling at one end. I decided I was going to drill that whole thing. Well, that lasted for 4 poles, and it was very awkward to do, very hard. Those are, I don't know what length they are. Even it's up in the.
They're taller than I am, so I'd say 6 or 7 feet. They got to be at least 6 feet.
At least 6, yeah. They're a little bit more than that. They're probably more in the 7, 8.5, something like that. We cut them to what I thought looked good, and then drilled them. And to keep that drill in the center, it was just practically impossible. I mean, I was working on the ground down back, and we just keep sliding that
I think regardless,
drill bit up
yeah, I would have
and
wanted.
try to keep it straight. And I kept it straight on 2 of the 4 that I did, and then on the second 2, it came out. It veered off and came out the bottom about a foot up from where it should have been. And that's when I decided that's enough of this. I'm not going to do it. So I went back to Woods again. Woods have been very helpful in all of this. And they took 2, those, let's see, were those 6x6s?
They look like they're about 6 by 6.
6 by 6.
Yeah.
They took them and they sawed them. They split it. They split it for me. And I came back and cut the notch out the center of them for the wire, and then put them back together and screwed them together. You would hardly know that they were the second 4 were screwed together, but I'd had enough of the drilling.
Yeah. That's tricky.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to another question. We're going to talk about some history of the park, and then there'll be a question at the end for you to comment on it. So let's talk about some of the features and history of the park. The park dates back to 1798, when the town was officially founded and named J. New York, from the former area named Mallory's Bush, and according to local history, was once used as the location for the Minutemen meetings and training after the Revolutionary War. It was also used for band practice for the local brass band, and the 4th of July celebrations were held on the park grounds.
They used to be held right up over there.
The 4th of July?
Yes.
So before the park, it was held on your dad's property?
No, Dad didn't have that property then. I don't know. It was years and years ago.
Okay. That's up behind the post office, where the new post office is now?
No, I think it was more this way.
Oh, okay.
Closer here than the post office, but up there in the woods.
An interesting fact from a newspaper clipping from the Wells Memorial Library archives by Adeline R. Smith states, the biggest and oldest maple trees, which were part of the park, now gone, stood on the north side of the park, came from little Frank Bruce's maple grove. Another Bruce family connection.
That's right there. That's just past just on the other side of the craft center.
Okay.
Was where the park was, and it's Adeline.
Adeline, okay.
Yeah.
So you knew who she was?
Oh, everybody
Yeah,
knew.
everybody knew Pat. Pat was her
Smith.
name.
Oh, that was Pat Smith?
That was Pat
Yes.
Smith, yeah.
See, now that's something that I don't know because I'm not old enough. And these trees were planted by the young ladies of the era from the village, according to her article.
Oh.
Also from the 1976 news article found at the Wells Memorial Library, wrote by Adeline R. Smith, it says that the bandstand at the time of the brass band in the 1800s, that the bandstand was green and white,
Right.
which it's now green and white again by your hand. You said you picked the colors.
Oh, right. I wanted to keep it the same as it was. Yeah.
But when I was growing up, the bandstand was yellow and brown at one point. And I do have pictures of it in that
Whoa.
color.
No kidding.
So
Interesting.
I don't know at some point how it transitioned, but it's interesting that it's back to the original colors now, which is really cool. The bandstand was green and white, and the brass band's suits were navy blue and were hand sewn by the women of, I would assume, the brass band's family members. Most recently, the park is utilized for summer music concerts hosted by the J Entertainment and Music Society, known as GEMS locally, which owns and operates the live stage theater next door to the Village Green. There is also a J Day celebration in the late summer, which consists of vendors, crafters, entertainment, and history stories. The park was once again used for the 4th of July celebrations in conjunction with the fire department, parade, and a car show at the Covered Bridge Park. What history do you have on the park and things discovered over the years of working there that we might not know?
That's really about it. That's very accurate. And then of course the firehouse was, next to across from the park, and then
And the firehouse has now been converted into the Gems Theater.
right now that's the Gems Theater, and then the firehouse moved down
To the school.
down across from Devon's, moved in there, and and then they moved their celebration there too. So that's the history of that, really.
Yeah.
Did you tell them about the birdhouses? Remember the story about the birdhouses? How you learned that you could get free decorative birdhouses
Right,
that needed work, that were
people with
Handicapped
disability,
disabilities.
old age disabilities, so forth. It must have been through the county.
I think it was.
And I'd read that they used the residents there, but they taught them to make birdhouses. And so I called them and said, well, we're all done making birdhouses for the year. And I said, oh, please, couldn't you make some birdhouses for us to put down there? She says, well, okay. And they must have made 15 probably. Or
At least that.
at least 15
there were
birdhouses
2 or
that
3 in
the
every
residents of that group made, and just made them and gave them to us.
Wow.
That's how they ended up all over down there.
And there's still some down there. I don't
They're
know.
still there, and
yeah.
they're being used too.
Well, that's good.
That's what's interesting.
Yeah. Must be the birds like them.
Yeah.
Did you have the chance to tell them about the collecting pennies for a new flag for the park, and Jan Ward wanted to buy it, and you said, no, thank you, it's going to be the children contributing so they have a feel for
Right.
being a part of that.
That would be something that should get restarted again so that new people in town
Yeah.
can get involved. That's a really great idea. So you collected pennies?
Yeah, we had Penny doing
Change, he collected
change. I guess we had little containers all over the place.
Because in fairness, the superintendent, the supervisor in Osable said, well, we can buy you a flag. And Don said, I don't want you to buy the flag. I want the children to be a part of the flag. And then when they see it up there, they'll say, I helped to get that,
That's great. We should do that again.
Don has great
Yeah,
ideas.
it is.
It is a good idea. It's great because it involves other people of the community, young and old, because I'm sure it just wasn't kids that donated. I'm sure people put change in those jars, oh, man, I don't want to put it in my pocket,
Right.
People don't like that sometimes, so they'll just
I
put it in
think
the
that's
jar.
how they should do everything, basically, for the money that they need for the park, to do it that way, make everybody a part of it. So,
It's a community effort.
yeah, right, because of community effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about the fountain. We hit on it. We hit on the fountain a little bit earlier on in the interview. What I have wrote here, and you can elaborate. Maybe you can remember when the old fountain transitioned to the new fountain. But it says old historical photographs of the park showed a stone fountain with a center stone pyramid in the center.
Right.
From the early 1900s or late 1800s. I'm not quite sure when the fountain was established, but it's similar construction to the twin fountains which used to be on both sides of the Twin Fountain gas station in Upper J. It looks very similar. I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of that, but where the Land of Make-Believe was, where the restaurant was,
Right.
Yeah.
before that was a restaurant, there was a small gas station on that side of
Right.
Route 9. And they had a stone fountain on each side that looked very similar to the J one.
Oh.
Maybe built by the same hand, I don't know. What could you tell me about the former fountain and the current one that we have today? So you added
Who
about
built
the...
that? I'm trying to think of the name of that built that.
Darwin Brewer.
Yeah, Doran Brewer built that, and there was no. It was just the fountain, and
The one that's there now is the one that
Yeah,
he
it
built.
looks just like it does now, but there was no water to it. He built it. He built it to be able to take water, but it just stopped there.
It had no water features. It just
Yeah,
held water.
It has water. Had water to it. They brought the water over to it, but that was the end of that. I don't know what happened there.
Okay.
And I decided I was going to put a fountain in it, and I just bought a fountain, put a fountain in it,
And paints it
Painted
and
it.
covers it in the winter and protects it in the spring, and it's an ongoing, and gets it, and it crawls in there and cleans the dirt out of it when the kids throw the flowers in it and all that. For a lot of years we donated the flowers. Don planted all the flowers, and apprentices were always generous about giving a good price to us. And then the town, Don requested that the town pick up the cost of the flowers because it was pretty hefty.
I think three years ago, about 3 years ago, we went to. I did ask the town, how would you like to take over the payment for the flowers? And he said, okay. So go up here to the flower shop.
I think that's a small price to pay for the keeping everything looking as nicely as it's always been. So now you mentioned earlier about the previous fountain that was there, like the ones with the pyramid in the middle, and you remember it being very
Overgrown and forgotten.
yeah, not in good shape.
Oh, no, it wasn't there was no water, like you said, there was no fountain, it was just
A clump of
broken down
everything.
stones falling down, yeah. Did he want to hear about the chairs, the Adirondack chairs?
Oh,
You can tell any story you'd like.
the Adirondack chair. We thought the place needed some
Perking
color
up,
to it, So we were in
visiting our daughter in
visiting our daughter in
Massachusetts
Massachusetts,
with
and
our little car,
we found
good price on Adirondack
Yeah.
chairs,
Out of the Adirondack Park.
brought, yes,
and we found those chairs.
brought
They're-
8 of them in our little
Yeah.
car.
Were they disassembled at the time?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
This is a-
bought those, brought them home, painted them, put them up around where we wanted them, chained them down the first 2 years, and then nothing was going wrong. Nobody was stealing them. Nobody took any. Nobody did anything. So I said, well, that's one less job to do. I'm not chaining those down again. And so now we just put them out there, and they can move them wherever they want to. And
Because it's an annoyance, I'm sure, for the person who's mowing now, if you have to pull
yeah,
those chains
had
out
to
and
pull
move the chairs.
take the chain off
Yeah.
them and all
So-
of that. And they always, the town did supply the picnic tables that are there. I take them out every year and put them behind Morrison's shop, and I do replace the wood on them and I do paint them. That's all.
It pretty much takes care of them, yeah.
So
Yeah.
they didn't have to. I said, why are you having to pick these up and take them up and try to put them in storage somewhere where they really never had any storage for them anyway? I said, let me just get my cart and I'll just every year we'll just move them over behind there and move them back in the spring, and that's one less thing you have to do.
Yeah. Well, and because of those contributions, it makes it easier on the town. They don't have to send
Yeah, I
somebody
was
down to do
hoping-
something like that, and
Hoping that it would.
it shows how far you go with your volunteering, because I don't think probably more than a handful of people know that you do that you move them or you maintain them. It's all you that has been doing
Yeah, it
this
was
all
just-
the years.
It was just a gift of, of
The
wanting to make the place look nice. Yeah.
The best thing is when he was talking to the people on the town board, he said, they said to him, "Where are the chairs? Where are the chairs?" He hadn't gotten them out yet, and he goes, what chairs? And they go, you know, the Adirondack chairs. Don had forgotten all about them, but they hadn't. He said, yeah, the park needs that to give it color.
It does add color because each one's a different color. You got red and yellow and purple and blue and green, and it does really.
And people take really good care of them. Nobody's ever tried to hurt, do anything to any of them. They pretty much pick them up and move them back. If they don't, I'll pick them up and move them back to where I think they ought to be to, in order to get the color spread out.
I've been down to the park before, working either on the sign or doing something down there, or just having lunch, sitting at a picnic table and have lunch. And I was down there one day, and there was a group of, I think, 6 maybe college kids that were here during the summer on break, and they took the chairs and they put them over like in a circle, and they all had lunch. And then when they were done, they put all the chairs back where they were, and it was like, that's nice that not only they put them back, because it's so much of a ordeal, I guess, now for the world to do something like that.
That's true.
But, it just showed respect, that they respected the park, they respected everything that was there, and they put it back the way they found it after they were done having their lunch. It was great.
And that kind of thing has grown over the years.
One thing you forgot. Don built a garbage disposal, what would you call that? Baskets?
Oh yeah. Actually, Reverend.
It was the...
Yeah, actually, they built, those two guys built
the Baptist minister?
Yeah, they built those.
And, well, he always tended to them. There were 2. They were nice. They were nice barrels to, and people used them. People put their trash in there, but I guess
when COVID came, the day COVID was announced to the world that it was here,
they took them.
They were gone.
The garbage cans were gone. Yeah.
And they've never been returned.
I've had heard of that issue because they had garbage cans at the covered bridge too at one point, and people were coming there and putting their own garbage from their house in there and letting the town pay to basically throw away their garbage, which I don't understand that. I mean, I understand, everybody was in a situation at that point of, maybe you didn't have enough money for everything. But I always find that if you ask, like if you're having a hard time, ask somebody, could you help me with this or could you help me with that? And a lot of times people will help you. Right. I mean, there's a few people that might not, but for the most part, people are good. People have good intentions.
They do.
And, whether they can help or not, I think they would be honest and say, no, I can't help you, but maybe they have a resource to help. There's a lot of other ways to go about it. And by having the garbage cans, on the park or in the parks, it's one more thing that a town employee has to go and empty every week. If people could utilize them the correct way and use it so, like, if there's something blowing around on the park, you could pick it up and put it in the can, or if you're there having lunch and you have your bag or whatever from the store and you want to throw it away, that's a good use of it. But not bringing bags and bags of household garbage in, that doesn't work too well.
The 2 guys who built those, they were the best built garbage containers I've ever seen in my life.
Those are the ones that were slotted, right?
Yeah.
So they could breathe.
Well, and Don would, for winter, he would seal them off so you couldn't use it as a dumpster for your...
All you have to do is just close them off in the wintertime, then so people can't use them, and open them back up in the summer. They were just fine. They were pretty well taken care of. And
in part 3, with the interview with Don Morrison, we dig even deeper into the history, and we have a deep discussion about the iconic, historic, and pillar of the village center, the bandstand. Quotes from news clippings, historical quotes, and important documentation and understanding of the importance of the structure, and why it should be kept and preserved.